They didn't even look me in the eye when they handed me the envelope. Just a manila folder, thick with paperwork, sliding across the conference table like an afterthought. Budget cuts. Someone mumbled. I didn't even catch who. Maybe it was Claire from HR. Maybe it was Thomas, my editor for the past 6 years. I don't remember. What I do remember is the way they avoided eye contact. Like my eyes might infect them with something too real. I'm Elias Mercer, 38 years old. Journalist? I'd spent nearly a decade at the Chronicle, one of the oldest and most respected newspapers in the Northeast. I wasn't a headline chaser. I didn't write for algorithms or trend cycles. I told human stories. The ones that made people stop, breathe, maybe even cry for a moment before continuing their day. I wrote about the man who played piano in the hospital lobby after losing his daughter to leukemia. I wrote about the woman who baked pies for the homeless every Sunday because she remembered what hunger felt like. I wrote about grief, resilience, forgiveness, things that didn't fit neatly in a 200-character tweet. And that, apparently, was the problem. Elias, Thomas had said just 2 weeks before the envelope. We need sharper angles, quicker hits. You're losing the room before the second paragraph. I remember nodding, sipping my lukewarm coffee, and staring past him. He was right. In a way, people scrolled fast now. No time for nuance, no time for depth. Just outrage, shock, simplicity. So when they let me go, they framed it as a business decision. Nothing personal, Claire said, as if removing the voice of someone who'd bled into every sentence wasn't personal. I packed my things in silence. A plant, a photo of my sister and me, a notebook with the soft leather cover I'd written every draft in for the past 10 years. When I got home, I didn't cry, I didn't rage. I just sat at my kitchen table, opened my notebook, and wrote. They fired me for writing with too much heart. I don't know what else to write, but the truth, it didn't feel like a declaration, just a whisper to myself in the quiet. But that night changed everything. I didn't plan to share it. That line, that notebook entry, but my sister, Rachel, came over with takeout and insisted I post it somewhere. Put it on Medium, she said, mouth full of noodles, or Substack, hell, even Facebook. Just don't go silent. Your voice matters. I uploaded it to a blank Substack. No branding, no images, just the title, Fired for Feeling. I went to bed with 3 subscribers. Rachel was one of them. The next morning, my inbox was flooded, hundreds of emails, thousands of subscribers, people sharing their own stories of being told they were too much, too emotional, too slow, too human. Somehow, that one line had hit a nerve. Within a week, Fired for Feeling had 50 0 subscribers. People weren't just reading, they were responding, writing back, crying, donating, offering their stories. I started writing every day. Not news, not features, just stories. About the janitor who left anonymous poems in the elevator. About the war vet who grew roses to cope with PTSD. About the cashier who memorized the names of every lonely customer. It wasn't glossy. It wasn't SEO optimized. But it was real. One afternoon, I received an email from a producer at a major podcast network. Your voice feels like medicine, she wrote. Would you consider narrating your stories? I hesitated. I wasn't a performer. I didn't write to be seen. But Rachel pushed me again. You don't need to perform, she said. Just read. Let them hear the heart they tried to cut out of you. So I did. I recorded the first episode with a $30 mic from Amazon and the sound of my neighbor's dog barking in the background. Still, it hit #1 on Apple Podcasts in under a week. They started arriving by mail. Handwritten letters. Dozens at first, then hundreds. From teachers, nurses, truck drivers, artists, retirees. People telling me, your words reminded me I'm not broken. One woman wrote, I hadn't cried in 6 years. Then I read about the nurse who stayed with the patient long after the machines went quiet. I cried for hours. Thank you. I kept every letter, every envelope, every scribbled page. I lined the walls of my apartment with them like insulation against cynicism. The Chronicle ran a piece about me in their weekend culture section. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same paper that fired me now profiling my success. Thomas even called. Just wanted to say, congratulations, he said. Seems like you found your audience. I bit back the instinct to hang up. No, I said gently. I think the audience found itself. I just gave them a mirror. The publisher called on a rainy Thursday. We want to turn your stories into a book, essays, memoir, however you want to frame it. I hesitated, not because I didn't want it, but because I wasn't sure I could do it without turning what was sacred into something for sale. Rachel told me, there's a difference between selling out and sending out. Your words deserve a bigger table. I signed the contract, not for fame, not for money, but because I believed these stories needed permanence. The book came out in the spring. The Quiet Voice, that's what we called it. It sold out in 2 days. They invited me back, not the Chronicle, but a journalism school, my alma mater, to teach. I walked into the lecture hall and saw 200 students, eyes wide, notebooks ready. I didn't talk about leads or AP style or how to write a viral tweet. I talked about listening, about slowing down, about the courage it takes to write what you feel, not just what you think. A student raised his hand. Aren't you afraid people will say your work is too sentimental? I smiled. They already have, but I'd rather be remembered for making someone feel than for making someone click. Not everyone liked what I wrote. Not everyone liked me. One night, a prominent columnist called me a bleeding heart relic in a world that needs warriors, not weepers. The post went viral. Some followers dropped off. Sponsors pulled out. Rachel called. You okay? I was, strangely, because that night, I received an email from the mother of a boy who had tried to take his own life. She said he heard one of my stories in the hospital and asked to hear more. He's in therapy now. He's talking again. Your words reached him when I couldn't. She wrote, that was the only headline I needed. It's been 2 years since they fired me. Fired for Feeling now has over 2 million subscribers. My second book is in the works. But more than that, I finally bought a house. Nothing fancy, just a small place on the edge of town with a big porch and soft light in the mornings. I write from there now. Still with the same notebook. Still with the same voice. Last week, Rachel visited. She walked through the front door, took one look around, and said, this feels like you. And it does. Not just the space, the life, the purpose. They fired me for writing with emotion. Now my words live in hearts, in headphones, in hospital rooms and long car rides, on quiet porches and in classrooms. They thought they were ending something, but all they did was set it free.